Hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial on Novelty. I would like to start by saying that I have recorded this over and over again trying to get this sound to actually work. It's been honestly a massive nightmare. I've literally been trying to record this thing for about a week. And I kind of gave up a week ago simply because my mic just did not want to work for me. So today I actually managed to get my mic working. So yes. Alright, so let's jump right into this. So today I am going to be working on a character. And I realized that I probably have a video on this already up. Unfortunately, that video is so choppy and kind of glitchy and just was low quality overall. So, now that I've got some actual proper equipment, I can actually record things well. So let's actually get started. So this particular video is actually going to go over several different things. I'm going to teach you guys how to use Designer. Not the basics of Designer because I'm fairly certain that you've already played around in Designer, but we are going to focus on creating an actor for your project or for your game. So let's go on in here, and I am going to go ahead and open up Novelty. Now, for those of you who have installed Novelty on your desktop, you probably won't run into any problems, but if you ever get an error, and it usually has to do with probably importing images and such. It's usually because you have installed Novelty on your C drive. I highly recommend actually putting your Novelty on either on your desktop or in your documents or somewhere where it's just not in the C drive or in your main drive. For me, it is the C drive. Oops, I picked that up by accident. Um, so, alright, so I put my Novelty on my desktop. I do technically have another copy in the C drive, but there is a way around that, in case y'all guys don't want to put it on your desktop, and that's totally cool. It doesn't really affect much. Um, but as I said, you will have to give certain permissions to your C drive to be able to install or import images along with any other kind of asset to your design. Ooh, excuse me, to your designer and to your Novelty. There we go. Jesus, couldn't get that out there. Okay, so there are two ways to import images into your designer, and I'm going to show you guys the hard way to do this. And that's simply because I'm fairly certain that everybody knows how to do it the easy way. So the hard way to do this would be to do it all through Designer. But the easy way would be to just launch up Novelty and import all of your images and get it all organized right then and there. And I do actually recommend doing it the easy way because it saves you time. It really does. Um, I'll show you the easy way real quick, just so that you guys can actually see and understand the differences. So when you do it the easy way, you can actually go to File, Import Assets, and hit the Images button. And of course, you can add as many images as you want. Let's say I wanted these three to be in my thing. So what this just told me that my one of my images are actually incompatible. So I'm going to actually remove that one. And alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and add one more. Just a random image, it doesn't really matter. I wonder why it didn't. It might be a corrupted image, and that's totally fine. So I'm just going to add a random image here, a background image of some kind. It doesn't really matter. This one is from my Guild Wars 2. I like taking a lot of pictures from my Guild Wars 2. Anyways, so moving on. So there are a couple things you can do here. If you control click, you can actually click on them individually. If you shift click from one end to the next end, you can actually highlight all of them. It doesn't really matter. For me, I'm going to show you guys how to go ahead and organize some of this. So we are going to go in here and we're going to type in a folder name. It doesn't really matter what name you give it, or I would suggest actually naming it a folder that you want to be able to find easily in your novelty. So if you're going to go ahead and import things, then you can import it as you know, you can even leave it as imported if you'd like, but let's say you wanted to leave it as imported and you wanted it to be under imported but in another folder. So for me, I'm going to type in tutorial, just so that we know that all of these images are going to pop up in tutorial. And it looks like I do have a background image in here, and you can define it as a background if you want, but if you define it as a background, it will pop up in your backgrounds area. Otherwise, you know, you're just going to have to keep it as is. So, and you can choose to hide these. If you choose to hide these, then it will not show up at all in your assets at all. However, you can use them for your designer. You can use them in designer. They will always 100% pop up in designer no matter what. So, you know, here's where you can actually rename all of the images you're importing. And yes, you can import .gifs. And I do apologize if I am talking a little bit fast. I'm trying not to let this video be too long. So, and I already know that it's probably going to be pretty long anyways, but we'll figure that out later. So, here in the settings, this tab is actually pretty interesting because it pertains to your novelty folders. So what these are actually defining are this is the name of your asset. If you save your asset as a package, this is where it's going to be at. And these are literally just file addresses is what they are called. So literally when you import these assets, this is where they're going to be imported to. So we're going to go ahead and show you where that is. If you head into assets, if you head into textures, so it's literally just going to be imported to like right here. But let's say you wanted to have a specific folder just for these images. Well, you're just going to do a backslash and then you're going to type in whatever name you want for your images, for your folder. So what this is going to do is it's going to actually create a image. It's going to create a image folder, and it's going to save all of your images straight to this folder. For me, I'm just going to leave this as is, simply because if you move this spot, sometimes it breaks novelty. So I would leave the assets alone, or at least the assets address. You can easily just, you know, convert all of your images to whatever you feel like. So yeah, let's go ahead and just hit the add to library button. And this says that the path doesn't exist. So what it's going to do is, as I said earlier, it's going to create that path. So you're just going to hit the yes button. So if we check back on in here, we will see actually that it does pop up in here. See? Tutorials right here. And it has all three of our images in here. And then some, actually, because I have already had a tutorials. Some stuff's already actually in tutorials, but It does automatically generate a thumbnail for you whenever you import things this way. Alright, so now that you know the easy way on how to import, let's show you guys the hard way. So I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh the library. And in case y'all guys wanted to see this, it did pop up in tutorial. See, right here. Easy peasy, no biggie. So all of our stuff is imported, but let's go ahead and refresh my background or my asset library, and let's go on into Designer. So you're going to open up Designer. It doesn't matter how you get there. You can open it through Novelty, or you can open it through the base files. So the way to do this is kind of a tedious thing. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a texture resource from file. And what that's going to do, what that means is that it's simply going to ask you, all right, where do you want to find all of your pictures at? What do you want to do with it? So we're going to go ahead, and I already have technically some images already imported, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this otherwise. So I do have a character here already made, and yes, this is made by me for me. I have made a Kagome Higurashi sprite from the series titled Inuyasha, and it's just kind of a little plaything that I'm doing offhand. But anyways, continuing on. So I'm just gonna do like just 3 of these. We're going to create 3 new textures. So we're going to hit the yes button, and the yes button, and the yes button. And what that did was that it's just going to import all of your images into your asset library. And so we have 3 images here that we want to do. So we got 1, 2, and 3. So our first one is, I guess, determined. We have 3 different ones here, and the reason why I have them all right here, usually if you don't do it this way and you want to do it one by one, you need to make sure that you change the name all the time. Each of your assets are going to have a different name, and that's just because if they all have the same name, then they're going to disappear from this section over here. So when you come over here, you can actually organize these. You can filter them, and you can title them however you want. What the filter feature does is that it's actually going to add it to your novelty in your asset library over here in the textures. So for me, I'm going to choose to have all of these images hidden. And that's only because I don't need all of these. I've already got all of these in my textures, and I don't need them to pop up twice. So let's say you want a folder titled, I don't know, characters. Yay, so now I have a folder titled characters, and you can even see it over here in your asset library that it does pop up under textures as a folder named characters. Let's say you wanted another folder. Well, backslash, I don't know, females. So here we are. We got characters, females, and our first image for the character. Now, say you don't feel like doing all of these one by one. Well, you would come over here, and easily enough, you can actually just highlight the filter all the way to the hidden, and you can hit Control C if you're on a Windows PC. You can hit Control C, and you can hit Control V, and that will paste the same attributes that you're trying to give to the image. And as you can see over here, it automatically aligned everything. So After that, you can actually add some asset details. And what I like to do is I like to put my name into the asset details as well as some comments. So for me, I would put something like a character from Inuyasha. Oops, can't type today. Inuyasha. And then I would put like, I don't know, perhaps my my social media accounts, or just, some place that people can reach me to be able to ask any questions about the assets, or just kind of figure that out. And of course, you can come over here and you can Control C everything, and you can hit the Control V. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Boop. Alright, so from right here, technically speaking, from right here all the way to here, you can hit the Control C button, and then you can go and hit the Enter button and Control V, and this actually needs to be back here. And you can do the same thing here. And once it updates, sometimes it takes a second. ///. Whoop. Let's just double check here, make sure everything's okay. Everything should be fine. But it is giving me an error, and we need to figure that part out. So texture, metadata. And of course, if this kind of becomes a little bit too tedious, you can always just do it the other way around. All of my things are popping up. For some reason, I'm having an error here. Usually I don't get these errors, but for some reason today we are getting errors. KH determined. Why are you highlighting red? Alright, so the novelty ML has changed into an invalid state. Preview will resume once it's valid again. So what on earth just happened? Sometimes you can just hit the Control Z button. Oh, my novelty just closed. My designer just closed. So sometimes when you're doing too many things at once, sometimes it will actually crash. It is very, very important that you save constantly. And for me, I didn't actually save that, so I'm going to have to do that over again. So let's just add all three of those textures there. And once again, adding them all to my library and just going ahead and hitting the filter and my hidden button. And of course, we wanted to have this under characters, and we wanted to organize them as female characters. So that was that. And we didn't get an error until we tried to organize things. So just to kind of help us out in the future, we are going to just add the asset meta details, and we are going to hit Xeria S, and of course type in our description of the character from Inuyasha, and that's totally fine. I keep typing that in. I don't know why I keep hitting that Y button, but there it is. And of course, deviantart.com. Alright, and of course you can also add a thumbnail file name, and the thumbnail will actually pop up in your inventory somewhere. I personally have already made a thumbnail, but I'm not going to make a thumbnail for this one. But it does become easier if you need a thumbnail to be able to see what it looks like, because when you are in the asset library, this is what you're going to see as the default. So sometimes it's better to have a close-up image of the thumbnail, like perhaps chopping this into like a quarter of this and just, taking a face pic of it and just putting it as your thumbnail. Anyways, continuing on, we want to know what the heck happened over here to have caused such a major catastrophe. Control C. I want to see if I can do it again, but first let's go ahead and Control S. And I'm going to go ahead and save it here in its default space. And that's just because I'm going to actually delete mine after I am done with it. Or after this tutorial. And that's just because I will not need this anymore. I just wanted to get this up there to be able to show you guys. But, I'm just going to title it as asset, and you guys can title it whatever you feel like. So I'm going to hit the save button, and we're going to go ahead and save that just in case we get an error. And we are going to do this right here and hit the enter button and Control V. And let's see what's going on here. That should have taken care of that right there. Aha! That's what was going on. Alrighty, so what was happening was we were missing a greater than sign or less than sign. I'm not really sure which one's which. But if we do the same thing here, hit the enter button, then we'd have like double made up details, but we've got that one. So we can go ahead and do this. And like I said, this will actually help with pulling back on all of that typing that you might have to do later on. And we gotta take care of that right there. Just double checking all of my images. Just gonna hit the save button just in case we get a crash. And Designer and Novelty are not perfect, so they will probably crash a lot when you're working with it. So let's see, /meta, this one right here needs a /metadata. And it does have an autofill feature, so that's nice. And there we go. So now we're getting absolutely 0 errors. If you ever get an error down here, then you need to address it almost immediately, simply because the sooner you do it, the sooner you address the error, the better off you are. Because if you have like a crap ton of all these textures and images and you can't figure out which one's which, you're going to be having a nightmare. So yeah, take care of that as soon as possible. So we've added our textures. Fantastic. So now we are going to create, technically from here you would go to create an image object. Say Let's say you didn't want to create an actor, you would create an image object instead. And that just jumps from one thing to the next. So the way I actually do this is I create an image set and I will right click and add a child and I will add an image. And that just kind of skips the middle part of creating an image object. And it's fine, it's totally fine if you want to just create an image object. Usually you would go to that step if you didn't want to create an actor. But for me, I'm creating an actor, and um, for those of you who are a little more interested in this, it does not have to be a person or a character to be an actor. And what I mean by this is that this is actually a really good way to change states of an object. So let's say you have a square that in your project that you want to turn into a diamond whenever it's triggered or something. A good thing to have would be this an image set right here. And you don't even have to define it as an actor, but all right, so I'm going to go ahead and Control C, Control V, Control V, and always click on the head, because otherwise if you have this highlighted, if you have the state highlighted before you paste it, it's going to paste it underneath that state, and that's not what you want. So here we are in our states, and you want to name each state differently because otherwise it's just not going to appear. Or it will all appear, but it will be all the same exact name, and that's not something you want either. So for me, I am going to type in, we have acceptance, and we've got annoyed, and we've got determined. Awesome. So now that we have our different states, we want to actually find the texture source. And because we've already added all of our textures, we are going to go ahead and find them on in here. So what we did was we put them in this folder right here, which is titled female. So we just got to go find the female folder. Well, we don't see the female folder. That's because it's beneath the characters folder. So the characters folder is right here. Here's our female folder, and here is our image. And there she is. So you pretty much just do that with each state. And once again, you don't have to do it the long way. You can do it the fast way by just copy and pasting over here. But personally, sometimes it just gets a little bit too crazy over there, so I will sometimes do it the hard way just because it's sometimes faster the hard way. So there we go. There's our character. She's got her acceptance, her annoyed, and her determined. So up here, you want to right click and you want to classify this as an actor. This means that it's going to add it to your actors or your character collection up top in the asset library. So from here, you are going to define it as an actor, and you can type in, your creative details. I would type in Victoria S, and of course I would leave a comment from character from Inuyasha, free to use. I don't know. Let's see, and of course my my details. Xeria.deviantart.com, and you can even put an email if you wanted to. And that's how that works. Here I do highly recommend actually putting a thumbnail here, and that's only because it doesn't actually show a portrait in the asset library. So for me, I'm going to just choose something random. It doesn't even matter what I choose because it's just there. So that's going to be my thumbnail. And this character is pretty much ready to go. So we're just going to, oh, we probably want to rename the character. So for me, I'm going to type in Kagome H. And I'm just going to type in number 1 because I do already have a Kagome H, and I will probably delete this later, but this is the one that we have created. And you can actually define what default state you want it to be in. So what this means is that, say, every time you add your character to the scene, well, every time you add it to the scene, it's going to probably pop up as acceptance. Well, for us, let's say we just wanted her to look determined every single time. You would just type in the title of your state, and she will always forever pop up as determined on your screen. And of course, we can filter her under characters. We don't even have to type in me. We could type in my characters if we want. My characters, all my females. And you can even take that even further. You can add as many folders as you want. So, Inuyasha, female, perfect, I guess. And that just creates another folder. So here we are. I'm pretty much done with all of this. I have fixed her up. I have given her meta details. You're pretty much good to go. So all we have to do is hit the Control S button, hit the Save button, and you can either minimize that or close it out. It doesn't really matter. Once you do that, you just open up Novelty again. And I will say that if you leave Novelty running while you're working in Designer, sometimes it has a glitch. Make sure you save before you always go into Designer, because going into Designer can take a while. And when you leave Novelty running for a little while on its own, it will crash. Especially if you're not doing anything in Novelty. Oops, I opened up something that I wasn't supposed to open up. So we're going to go ahead and refresh the asset library, and we are going to go into our actors. And here is everything that I have. Technically speaking, here's Kagome H right here. Ah, I know what I did. Okay, so what I did was I saved it to the default area. And where that was actually right here in deep within my documents here, or my pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to control X so that I can actually take it out, and I'm going to head on over to my Novelty over here, and we're just gonna drag and drop that, or paste it right on in here. And if you go back to your Novelty, you're going to hit the right click, and you're going to refresh your asset library. And you're going to hit the OK button, and you should pop up, yep, right here, under My Characters, Inuyasha, Female, Kagome H. Now remember, when you double click, you're adding them to your cast manager. And while that's all fine and dandy, sometimes the cast manager or the dealing with your actors this way can be kind of a problematic situation. The way that I actually add my characters is to right click and add to scene, and that's just because it gives me a little bit more leeway to be able to adjust and move the character around on screen a lot easier than what it would be if I were to add the character that and through the other way. So if you had either double clicked, you can actually change the color of how they speak as well in your dialogue. And you can define it as a female. It doesn't really matter. You can do it that way. That just added it to your cast manager, and you can actually find your list of characters right here that you are using. You can delete the character if you'd like from your cast manager. If you do it that way, in your uh, in your action window, you would have to go in here and actually enter actor to be able to use it, and you would have to select it. If your actor does not show up here, it means that you did not add it to your cast manager. So you would have to do it like this. But if you click over here, it disappears again. So you would have to constantly click over here and make sure that um, you can actually choose where to put it. So you can tell it where to be positioned at. Personally, I choose custom position, and you can then drag it anywhere you want. However, when you're doing this, you can't actually scale it down to size. So it's like it's kind of it's weird. So anyways, that pretty much concludes my tutorial. If you guys have any questions or any concerns or comments or just feel like saying what's up, then go ahead, hit me up in the comments. And yeah, I read all of my comments. I try to respond to everybody. So yeah, so hopefully y'all guys are having a fantastic day, night, evening, whatever time of day it is. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. So I'll talk to y'all guys later. Bye bye.